Ma'am Rea. Good afternoon, Ma'am Rea Justine. And then our second speaker, Ma'am Maria Ulfa. And then our moderator today, Miss Angelica Tricia. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of session of the lecture series in Biology and Biology Education 2025 organized by UPGRIS and DIMSU. All right. This session will be moderating by Angelica Tricia. And then before we start, I would like to inform all the participants that have been already participated in this session. We would like to appreciate your attendance. And then today, please welcome to the last session of our event. And then don't forget to make such a fruitful discussion and welcoming our distinguished speaker today, Ma'am Rea and Ma'am Ulfa. Okay, I will invite our distinguished moderator, Miss Angelica Tricia will be moderating your session, Ma'am Rea and Ma'am Ulfa. Please welcome. The screen is yours, Angelica.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Agnita. Okay, everyone, greetings to all of you. I'm Angelica, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. As Ma'am Agnita said, today may be the last day or our last session, but I believe the excitement and inspiration we will experience today will be just as valuable as the days before. And also a warm welcome as well to our amazing speakers, Mrs. Rhea Justin S. Fangonio. I hope I pronounce it right. With the topic of the web of life, exploring biodiversity conservation and sustainability. And also our second speaker is Mrs. Maria Ulfa with the topic of zoo remediation, a new trends and approaches. We are truly honored to have you with us, and we look forward to learn together with both of you. All right, wait no more. Let's welcome our first amazing speaker for today's session. Hello, Mrs. Rhea Justin. How are you today?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm feeling good. At the same time, I feel quite nervous because this is my first time to have a lecture. Thank
All
you.
right, great. No worries. We will just take it easy, Mrs. Rhea. All right, Mrs. Rhea Justin, are you ready for presenting?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So, Ms. Rhea Justin, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Miss Angelica. May I just know if our participants are college students?
Yes, most of us are college students.
And may I know your majors? Or what course are you taking?
Most of us are taking in biology education courses.
Okay, so at least we have the same interests because I too is a science teacher and I am currently teaching college and secondary students. Okay, so without further ado, let's start with our discussion for this afternoon. Okay, is my presentation visible?
Yes, we can see it clearly, Miss.
Okay, so before we start, let me give you a heads up. So this lecture will be about biodiversity. So how could we do something about it and how could we conserve it? Okay. So we will take a look at what it is, why it matters, and how can we protect it. So let's warm up our brains with a quick activity. I would be showing you some logos or brand logos, and I want you to type in your answers. So let's see whether you know those logos. Okay, let's start. Logo number 1. Can I see your answers? You may chat them. Oh, there's him. Mr. Jonathan Aspuria. Can you type in your answer? Are you familiar with this brand? The one with the crocodile logo. Okay, thank you, Miss Angelica. You are correct. This is Lacoste. So Lacoste is a clothing brand intended for tennis players, but actually they are already producing a lot of apparels, not only intended for tennis. Next logo. Aside from Miss Angelica, I'd like the other participants to try to guess. Yes, you are correct, Miss Lusana or Mr. Lusana. This is Puma. So Puma is also a clothing brand, and they are specializing on production of shoes, right? Okay. Next. What about this? You have here a horse. What brand is this? What about the others? Okay, you got it right, Miss Lusana. This is Ferrari. So Ferrari is a brand for cars. Okay. Next, a panda. What could it be? What? This is not a brand, but this is very related to biodiversity. Okay. Miss Agnita, may I ask you to type in the full meaning or the full word for WWF? You may also type in your answer, Miss Maria. Clue, first word starts with the word world. What about the second word? Okay. I will proceed with the answer. It's World Wildlife Fund. Okay, so it's WWF. And we've reached the last logo, and I know you know this because this is very particular to your country, Indonesia. What about the others? May I see your answers? Okay, we have the answer already. It's Jayco. So Jayco have reached also the Philippines. That's why we are familiar with this brand. So this brand is specializing with the production of donuts and drinks, right? Okay. So what do you think is the relationship now of this logo with biodiversity? Yes, Miss Joanna, would you like to answer? Okay, so these brands do not only represent their brand, but also these logos now connect us to the ideas and memories of biodiversity. So if you have noticed, majority of the logos that I have shown you would have animals on it, right? So first logo, we have crocodile. We also have horse. For Jayco, we have peacock. Okay. I think there's still another. I forgot. What about this? Do you know this brand? So this brand is producing, yes, you are correct. Correct, Miss Maria. This brand is producing clogs and we know them or we know it as rocks. Okay. So thank you for your active participation for the first part of the discussion. Okay. So scientists have actually estimated that there are about 8.7 million species on Earth, but there are only around 1.2 million species that have been described or identified. The remaining number is actually still a complete mystery. And majority of these organisms are actually found within or underwater. Okay. So if you try to look at the images, majority of the species or identified species are actually belonging to the family of insects. Yeah. Okay. Next. So let's try to define biodiversity. The word biodiversity is actually a product of contraction wherein we have a combination of two words. These are biological and diversity. And we are actually pertaining to the variety of life forms that are present within an ecosystem or a landscape. And biodiversity could be attributed to two components, and these are richness and evenness. Do you think you are rich? Would you consider yourself as a rich individual? For some, they may be doubtful or they are still contemplating, but richness does not always pertain to material things, right? We could be rich with the friends or the relationship that we have. Okay, the other attribute for biodiversity is what we call as evenness. So let's try to differentiate the two. Okay, so richness would actually pertain to the number of groups that are genetically or functionally related individuals. Usually, when we say richness, they may be referring to the number of species. So if there are great number of species in a certain ecosystem, we could say that that ecosystem is rich. Okay. On the other hand, we have evenness. It pertains to the proportion of species or functional groups that are present on a site. Let's take a look at this image. Do you think this site or this ecosystem is even with or in terms of its species? Yes or no? Can you type in your answers? Do you think this ecosystem is even? Okay, no one is answering. Okay, so looking at this image, we may say that this site has low evenness. Why? Looking at it, we could not see their animals, but there is the presence or there are the presence of varied plants. So when we say that an ecosystem is or having low evenness, this could now indicate that there is or that there are few species that dominate the site. Now let's try to test or look at some examples. I'm sorry. So let's try to compare. We have here Minnesota on the first picture, and on the other picture, we have Costa Rica. Looking at Minnesota, it states there that it it actually has three major terrestrial biomes, and these are prairie, deciduous forests, and coniferous forests. On the other hand, Costa Rica is known to be a forest area. It is dominated by tropical rainforests. So therefore, what do you think is more even, or what do you think is richer in terms of its organisms or in terms of its biodiversity? Would it be Minnesota or Costa Rica? Okay, so the answer there is, we would go back to that later. Let's see first the different measures of life's variation. Okay, so there are three measures. The first one is genetic diversity. So when we say genetic diversity, we are dealing, or we are concentrating now on the variety of the genetic material in a certain species. So say for example, we humans are considered to be an individual species. However, in terms of our genetic makeup, there could be variety or differences. Okay. On the other hand, we have species diversity. So looking at the second picture, we have their savanna or grassland. And we could see there multiple types of species. So species diversity now is pertaining to the number of varied species that are present in a certain ecosystem. On the other hand, or for the last measure of diversity, we have ecosystem. And this is pertaining now to the variety of ecosystem in the particular geographical area or location. So let's take a look at Indonesia as our example. Indonesia is a large archipelago. Am I right? Yes. So it is similar with Philippines. And Indonesia does not only have rainforests, specifically in Borneo, but there are other forms of ecosystem that could be found in Indonesia. Example, we have here marine ecosystem. Do you have desert in your area? None, okay. You may have marine. You could also have savanna or grassland area, right? So that would now make up what we pertain to as ecosystem diversity. So going back to the image a while ago, the two countries or two locations, Minnesota and Costa Rica, would now have different level of ecosystem diversity. And Minnesota is known to have more diverse ecosystem because of the presence of varying major terrestrial biomes as compared to Costa Rica, that though Costa Rica is so big, it only has one type of ecosystem, which is tropical rainforest. Okay. Now, we would take a look at the direct economic benefits of biodiversity. So looking at the image or images that are shown, we would now already have an idea on what biodiversity can provide us. Okay. So first one is in the field of agriculture. So without biodiversity, we would not have something to eat. We might suffer from hunger. Okay. So biodiversity is very important because it allows crop production. It also includes pollination. Pollination is made possible by insects, varying types of animals, and also external forces such as wind, water, and so forth. Okay. Next, it could also help us in pest control. And another, biodiversity could also maintain soil health, and that is possible because of microorganisms that are present in the soil. Okay. Next, loss of biodiversity can lead to reduced crop yields, increased pesticide use, and higher input costs. So imagine if you do not have varying type or varied types of food or crops, so we are stuck with a single type of food. And what if that certain crop would be infested by pests? So therefore, we could have or we could experience hunger that could lead to famine. So since we have variety of food sources, there is a lesser chance for us to suffer from hunger. Okay, so in the Philippines, our staple food would be rice. What about in your country? Are you also eating rice? I believe so, right? You have nasi goreng. Am I right? Yes. Okay. So imagine if there is no available source for rice, then we would not have something to eat. Okay. But good thing there is biodiversity because we could still look for other options. Example, we have potatoes. We could also eat sweet potatoes, or in Filipino, we call it kamote. We also have tapioca or cassava. Okay. Now, I'd like to share one example of food here in the Philippines. Are you familiar with halo-halo? So the term halo-halo is a halo-halo is a Filipino term. If we translate it into English, it means mix. Okay? So in halo-halo, there are variety of ingredients that are usually used. And looking at their names, majority are sourced from plants. Okay. Example, we have here sweetened mungo or red beans in English. We also have here sweetened langka or jackfruit. Next, we have here leche flan. So this is like a custard made from eggs. Yeah. Okay, so currently here in the Philippines, we are experiencing a very hot weather. And one way for us to quench or to lessen that heat is by eating halo-halo. So we could now see the application of biodiversity with the everyday food item that we are eating. Okay. So for those who are in Indonesia, I hope you could also get a taste of this, right? When you come visit the Philippines. Okay, next. Another benefit, another direct impact of biodiversity is that it provides us with clothing and shelter. Can you look at what you are wearing today? You try to think of what could be the main material that was used in the production of your clothes, right? Is it sourced from organic material or is it a synthetic material? Majority of the things that we are wearing now are actually made up of combination of organic or natural and synthetic. So this is known to be, one example is known to be polyester. Okay. But the common natural fibers that we are using are known to be cotton. We also have silk. We also have linen. Okay. Next. Biodiversity could also provide us with the raw materials that we could use in building our house or our different infrastructures because they serve as a scaffolding or a foundation of these structures. Another, it could also be a source of fragrances, dyes, and even poisons. So we are very grateful because our earth could provide us with this, right? So let's take a look at some examples here in the Philippines. So our national costume is known to be Barong Tagalog and Barot Saya. Barong Tagalog is intended for males and usually they are long sleeves. And for the females, these are two separate um clothing. So you could have a skirt and um uh blouse. Okay. Yes. And these types of fibers are actually made from natural fabrics. If you could see there, we have a pineapple, similar to what I'm wearing. So there is a pineapple. However, in order for manufacturers to extract the fiber, they would be needing the leaves of the pineapple. And there would be different processes involved. So the color of those fibers could be dyed. So it could change into different colors. Okay. Next, another material or another plant that we could use is coming from banana silk, and we call it as juicy or juicy. Okay. Next. So aside from agriculture, clothing, and shelter, biodiversity could also be an inspiration in the creation of technology. So looking at the example, we have here a boxfish. And below would be a model of car released by Mercedes-Benz, and they call it as boxfish car. So the inspiration behind creating this car came from the boxfish, and they want to create an aerodynamic car, so they have patterned it from the structure of that fish. Okay, so if we try to use inspiration coming from living organisms, we call it bionics or biomimicry. Okay, we have another example. This time we have here honeycombs. So honeycombs serves as a place wherein honeybees would deposit the nectar. And these honeycombs would now be used for different purposes. They could use it for industrial manufacturing. If you could see there, we have here cardboards, wherein there are spaces in between them. Another, we have here planks for building radiation protection materials. We also have aeronautics and astronautics. And lastly, we have materials that are used for absorbing shock, and you could see it there below. Okay, next. Biodiversity could also provide us with medicine and medical models. So recently, there is a news here in the Philippines saying that this particular plant that you could see above, also known as shiny bush or pansit-pansitan, is known to have a property intended to cure or to lessen the effects of gout. So this is known to be it has an anti-gout property. So they are still refining some researches about this, but hopefully this could be available in the market. We also have here uh, a rotting or rotten orange, wherein these have been the basis or the source of the invention for penicillin as an antibiotic. Okay. Next, biodiversity could also provide us with ecotourism. So the picture now would show the first picture we have there. Mount Pinatubo. So this is actually a volcano wherein a lake was formed near, no, this is in Zambales. Yes, Mount Pinatubo in Zambales. We also have here a place wherein hikers or mountaineers could go. This is in Rizal, here in the Philippines. And we have here the Tubataha Reef, which is very special to the Philippines because it houses now different kinds of marine organisms together with the different kinds of corals. So because of this because of these sites, we get to familiarize ourselves or to enjoy now nature as it provides us with relaxation, right? At the same time, it provides us with scenic view, and it also allows us to experience more the nature, okay? So it provides economic, social, and cultural incentives for the local people while staying at an environmentally friendly way. The example for Indonesia, one famous tourist spot there would be Bali. Am I right? So people would go there to visit the beach and to explore more on the area. Okay. So what is ecotourism? Ecotourism is a form of responsible travel that focuses on exploring natural environments while minimizing negative impacts on ecosystem. Yes, ecotourism is good for the locals, but we should also put into consideration the nature that we are or the environment that we are going or we are visiting, because sometimes we enjoy it so much that we forget to pick up our litters or to abuse now or to destroy some of the plants or other wildlife or disturb wildlife that are present there. So what could be some examples of ecotourism activities? We have here hiking. We could also include bird watching, wherein you would have your telescope, and you could also go to snorkeling. Yes. Okay. So the biodiversity hotspot, SEA focus. SEA is pertaining to the Southeast Asia focus. So the Philippines and Indonesia are mega diverse countries. Philippines have almost 52,000 species. On the other hand, we have Indonesia to have almost 300,000 species. So we are neighboring countries. And a good thing about our countries is that it is very diverse in terms of the organisms. Now, I would like to share about the red list. And this is actually monitored by IUCN, or the International Union for Conservation of Nature. So the IUCN usually release now a red list that would now show a comprehensive inventory of the status of the global status of plants and animals. And every 5 years, they would now evaluate the population of each species. They may add certain species to their list. So we could actually access this red list by searching in the internet. Just go to their website, which is iucn.com. Okay. So we have here different categories for species. It would start from, or it could be categorized as extinct to not evaluated. You would see there a category known as threatened category. And this is now pertaining to species that are actually endangered. Okay. So I would like to share some of the organisms here that are endemic to the Philippines. First one, we have the Philippine tarsier. This is, if you would see it in the picture, it seems like it's very big, but in actual, it's actually about the size only of the palm of our hands. And the status of this tarsier is actually NT, meaning to say they are near threatened already. Okay. Next, another would be the tamaraw, and its status now is CR, or critically endangered. We also have a bird known as the Philippine eagle. The other term for it is the monkey-eating eagle. And this is now a critically endangered species in the Philippines. We also have the coconut crab that is vulnerable, which why? Because some of the residents or some of the people near their area is considering this type of crab to be a delicacy, meaning to say they consider it as a special food. That is why it could be a possible reason why this coconut crab is already vulnerable. We also have Areca parens. So this is included in the family of palms, and its status is endangered already. Okay. So there is a male stump that was created in honor of the Philippine tamaraw named Halisab. So this Philippine tamaraw died last October 10 of 2020. So it is already endangered, but sadly, one of the living tamaraw have already died. Okay, so the last level or category of the IUCN is extinct. So we could say that 99% of the species that have ever lived on Earth are already extinct. Now, the question is it natural? Is it a natural thing? Evidently, yes. Extinction would actually happen, but it could differ in terms of its rate and cost. So there could be a natural source or natural cause for extinction. Example, you have the during the dinosaur era, wherein it was believed that an asteroid hit the Earth that caused the extinction of these dinosaurs. Okay, let's have here a specific example of an extinct organism, and it is known as a golden toad, which is last seen in the cloud forest of Costa Rica. So there are different theories stating the reason for its extinction. One would be the sudden change in climate. So severe droughts might have caused this because we all know that frogs would have the ability to live in both water and land. So if the area is too hot for them, eventually this could now cause them to die. Another, it could have been because of their exposure to certain fungus and have caused a disease. Okay. So we have here the different threats to biodiversity. Number one, we have deforestation that could lead now to habitat loss. So deforestation is done because people tend to expand more their areas. So example, uh, they want to have mining or to harvest mine or minerals. So for a certain area, once they have mined that area, the biodiversity would start to lessen until it would now cause the loss of habitats of different organisms. Another we have here, illegal wildlife trade. So example would be those animals that are acquired through poaching, and then they would be selling it for a certain amount. Once hunters are paid with a good price, they think that it's okay, but actually it's not, because it's affecting now our biodiversity. Another, we have here the climate change impacts, which we are currently experiencing already. So this is very evident because there is already a change in our climate. Next, we have the palm oil plantations and illegal logging. So illegal logging could also be associated to deforestation. Okay, so I believe in Indonesia, you have a lot of palm trees or coconut trees. Am I right? So we also have that here in the Philippines. Okay, so what are some sustainable practices for the future? First one, this could be the first example of sustainable practice would be the practice of 5 Rs. Before we only know the 3 Rs. However, there is an update regarding this. And the first of which is known as the refuse. So before we could acquire or we get materials or raw materials, we first try to think whether it is helpful, or are we just wasting our resources. So example, if we want to buy something but we still have a lot of it, you might actually considering the refuse practice. What else? We have the usual reduce, recycle, and reuse. And one added practice would be the ROT, or allowing organic substances to decompose, and by practicing composting. Okay. Next, support eco-friendly products. If we are mindful of the products that we purchase and use, this could now actually offer alternatives to what we usually have. Example, sustainable product would be the use of tumblers instead of the use of or the frequent buying of bottled waters. So if we have our personal tumblers, every time we would refill water, we actually have it on hand. We do not need to buy anymore, because those plastic bottles now could contribute to the growing solid waste that we have. Okay. Next, we could also participate in conservation initiatives. example, we have the wildlife conservation, forest preservation, and water conservation. Among the three, I see that water conservation is very it is very possible on our ends because we have individual or inside our houses, we have water sources or we have water as our resource. So one way to participate in conservation initiatives is by practicing conservation of water every time we brush our teeth, every time we take a bath. So let's not waste water because every drop would every drop counts. Okay. So I've reached the last part of my slides. So in conclusion, we have one web, one responsibility. So one web, we are pertaining to the earth. So this to conclude my topic, all life forms are interconnected. So going back to our game a while ago, all organisms that we have mentioned are actually interconnected, and without or if there is the absence of one species, there could actually or we could actually experience imbalance in our ecosystem, and that could lead to further problems. Next, healthy ecosystems support human well-being, which is very correct. So if our ecosystem is not healthy, we could also see that in our health or well-being. If our ecosystem or environment is polluted, it could now also affect our health. Okay. And the last one, small actions can contribute to global sustainability. I hope that your every actions are towards the uh towards the maintenance and conservation of our biodiversity. We only have one earth, and if we do not do something about it, we would all experience problem. So to leave you a quote, in nature, nothing exists alone. So therefore, we are all interconnected. And with that, I thank you all for your participation. Thank you for listening to my talk.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Ray Justin, for your very insightful presentation. Moving on to our second amazing speaker as well, Mrs. Maria Ulfa. First, I will read out Mrs. Maria Ulfa curriculum vitae. For Ms. Ray Justin, can you close your presentation first? All right, for Mrs. Maria Ulfa curriculum vitae, her name is Mrs. Maria Ulfa. Her education from bachelor's degree at chemistry at UNES, the master's degree at natural science education or chemistry education at UNES, the doctoral degree at environmental science at UNDIP. You can contact her by emailing her at mariaulfa@upgris.ac.id. She is an Outstanding Manager Award for Student Affairs and Alumni Performance 2024 UPGRIS. She is a biology education lecturer, manager of Student Creativity Program Center, assessor of orchid cultivation LSPP1, and also the head of Student Affairs and Alumni Unit at campus. Off campus, she is a member of the Indonesian Biodiversity Society and also the member of Indonesian Society of Biology Educators and Researchers. She is also a trainer Global Ecobrick Alliance at Indonesia and also the National Reviewer PKM Bilmawa,
Ini yang
Ministry
dimalah nanti
of
menjadikan
Higher
cadangan
Education,
karena
Science and Technology
yang
Indonesia.
kayak tidak ribet ini.
Alright. And also, she is actively researching and publishing scientific articles in the fields of environmental science, conservation, and also biodiversity. She is also actively engaging in community service by providing training in ecoenzyme, ecobricks, hydroponics, aquaponics, and cultivation and orchid conservation. That's all from the curriculum vitae of Mrs. Maria Ulfa. And right now, let's greet our second amazing speaker, Mrs. Maria Ulfa. Hello. Hello, Mrs. Maria Ulfa. How are you today?
Hello, Angel. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, it's all right, Miss Maria Ulfa. All right, Mrs. Maria Ulfa, how are you today?
I'm fine. How about you, Angel?
I'm fine too. Thank you for asking, Miss Maria Ulfa. All right, Mrs. Maria Ulfa, are you ready for presenting?
Okay, ready.
All right, great. So, Mrs. Maria Ulfa, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Angel. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for joining me today. Thank you, Angelica, for the time. First of all, I will say hello to Mom Rea Justin. Hi, Rea. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Ma'am Maria
Okay.
Ulfa.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay. Rea, about the perception to start the presentation by display brand or mark is very fun and unique. Correlated with the web of life, I'm right into answer WWF and Croc. Okay. Yeah. I hope Rhea can come to biology education study program in UGRIS, Central Java, Indonesia. Hopefully, ya, Rhea.
I do hope so, Ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for for the knowledge that you share with us about the web of life, exploring biodiversity, conservation, and sustainability. Okay, I would like to thank the head of the biology education study program UGRIS, Mam Praptining Rahayu, and then secretary of the biology education program, Mam Rifana Citraning Rahmawati, for this opportunity, especially for Mam Agnita from the UGRIS International Affairs Office and the handsome PIC, Dr. Azizul Gofar. Thank you for providing the lecture series facility.
Anytime, Ma'am.
Okay. And all friends of lecturer and my student in Indonesia and Philippines, hopefully all those present at this scientific meeting today will be given useful knowledge, health, safety, and success. I mean, let's get started. I will share on the screen.
Is there already a display on the screen?
For
Not
now,
yet.
not yet, ma'am. Mrs. Maria Ulfa, would you like me to help you?
I'll try, Angel.
All right.
Is there already display on?
Yeah, already.
Okay. Thank you. Have you ever wondered about zoo remediation? Zoo remediation is a new trend, a new solution, and then a new approaches, a new biotechnological approaches. Today, we will exploring about this concept with the same topic with Mr. Mamrea as the first speaker. So remediation, biodiversity, conservation, and sustainability are interconnected concept where zoo remediation using animals to clean up the pollutants can be seen as a tool that can positively influence both biodiversity and sustainability. Bioremediation is considered as a safe and sustainable technology as it rely on the action of microorganisms for the removal of contaminants from the waste, which can be wastewater or soil. And then bioremediation process can be undertaken on site without causing a major disturbance to human activities.
Excuse me, Mrs. Maria Ulfa.
Okay.
The slide is still not clearly visible. Yes, already.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. The process bioremediation can be undertaken on site without causing a major disturbance to human activities and environments. Bioremediation has several benefits, environmental friendly, cost effective, and sustainable. Bioremediation is the use of living organisms to remove or detoxify pollutants from a given environment. It can be classified as follows: micro-remediation, phycoremediation, phytoremediation, and zooremediation. Microremediation, use of bacteria. Phycoremediation, use of algae. Phytoremediation, use of plants, and zooremediation, use of animals. But in facts, the ability of animals to act the bioremediative capacity, or we know zooremediation, is not widely known. Zooremediation utilization animals to remediate contaminant site, soil, or aquatic has both direct and indirect effect. Direct effect involve the animals directly degrading or transformation pollutants or compound into less toxic or harmless substances. And then indirect effect include improvement in the soil environment, enhanced microbial activity, and plant growth promotion, which collectively contribute to the overall remediation processes. In the direct effect, pollutant degradation, maybe with animals or plant or microorganism through the enzymatic activity can break down organic pollutants like hydrocarbon, pesticide, and dyes, or converting them into less harmless substances like carbon dioxide, water, and inorganic compound. Maybe metal remover too. Some micro can bind to transfer pollutants, reducing their bioavailability and toxicity in the soil. And then about direct effect, animal can absorb an accumulation, removal, accumulation, transformation, contaminant, pollutant, particularly heavy metal from the soil, and then effectively sequestering in their biomass. And then about indirect effect would be improve soil condition, and then enhance microbial activity, reduce toxicity, and nutrient availability. So in summary, about direct and indirect effect of zooremediation, bioremediation offer a multi-phased approach to environmental cleanup with direct effect on pollutant degradation and indirect effect that create a more favorable environment for microbial and plant activity. Ultimately, leading to the healthier and more sustainable ecosystem. And then zooremediation can be achieved by, there are three parts, so extraction, so stabilization, so transformation, or so degradation. Zooremediation can be achieved through extraction, and then three parts. This method utilize animals to remove pollutant from environment, and then so extraction involve animals extracting or to extract and accumulating pollutants, while zoostabilization focus on the preventing the pollutant migration. So transformation or so degradation uses animals to break down organic pollutants into less harmful substances. The most suitable animals for zooremediation: earthworms or other or soil animals, like saprotrophic fungi, and then protozoa, nematoda, oligoseta, and then microarthropoda, macroinvertebrata, and insect are valuable for zooremediation, playing a significant role of both the physical and biological aspect about the soil health and contaminant removal. Oligoseta in particular are crucial for aeration, nutrient cycling, and then degradation of organic pollutants, making them important component of soil ecosystem are useful of bioremediation efforts. Soil animals create tunnels, improving soil aeration and drainage, which can enhance the activity of beneficial microorganisms involved in the breakdown of pollutants. Soil animals consume and decay organic matter, including contaminant particle, and then bacteria can further degrade pollutants. Soil animals contribute to the cycling of nutrients in the soil, which can support the growth of plants and other organisms involved in bioremediation. And soil animals population can be used as indicators of soil health and the presence of contaminants, and then helping to assess the effectiveness of zooremediation effort. This slide is the most suitable animals for zooremediation in aquatic habitats. The marine Spongia is known to degrade the surfactant sulfophenyl nonana into sulfophenyl propionic acid and sulfobenzoic acid significantly faster than marine bacteria. In fact, it can do so 10 times faster. The ability highlights the strong potential as a zooremediation tool in aquatic environment. There are a lot of species is the most suitable animals for zooremediation in aquatic habitat. I will share about zooremediation case study and an example. So there are 4 case study. So degradation of organic pollutant. Spongia officinalis can degrade based on the Perez research. Spongia officinalis can degrade the surfactant sulfophenyl nonana to its main product sulfophenyl propiona acid and sulfobenzoic acid 10 times more rapidly than marine bacteria to degrade organic pollutant. And then extraction of heavy metals. Crassostrea virginica extract cuprum, and then Methylus edulis extract lead, or in Indonesian is timbal, and then Pingetada albina extract cadmium, and then etc. And then zooremediation case study in extraction of pathogenic microorganism. There are the marine sponge, Chondrilla nucula, can act and successfully as environmental remediator of bacteria. Can filter E. coli cells. And then Polychaeta can also act as remediator of microbial pollution. And about the case study and example in extraction of nutrient per oyster, the Pinctada imbricata can balance the nitrogen input of sewage treatment plant into the sea. Okay. I will share to all of you here about my research on zooremediation. Berikut diterima as a bioremediator in copper and cadmium polluted soil. The aim of this research is a determine BCF and TF. BCF is a concentration factor, sorry, and TF translocation factor value of heavy metals in oligoseta. This research obtained data on heavy metal, Cu, and cadmium pollution that affect soil quality and the potential of oligoseta, a special Lumbricus terrestris and Peritrima, as bioremediator for CuNCD in Jatibarang landfill. This research method use a field experiment. Sample were then prepared for heavy metal analysis using ICP-MS. And then the BCF and TF value were calculated using formula. The BCF value was calculated as the content of heavy metal in oligoseta divide the concentration of heavy metal in soil. This research measures and analyzes the concentration of two types of heavy metal, copper, Cu, and cadmium from two oligoseta species in Jatibarang landfill, Semarang, Indonesia. The Jatibarang landfill was in Semarang, which located close the residential area. Jatibarang landfill is located in Kedung Panis subdistrict, Mijen, Semarang, which 60% for waste soil and 40% for licit full infrastructure, and then green belt and cover soil. The composition of waste entering Jatibarang landfill consists of organic and anorganic waste. And then anaerobic decomposition process in Jatibarang landfill site produce licit, or in Indonesia we call lindi, a fluid with unpleasant odor and dark colors that generally contain high organic and inorganic materials, have potential to cause soil pollution. And then the characteristic of Cu, copper, and cadmium in Jatibarang landfill due to the amount of minerals dissolved by licit, produce large amount of licit with very high level pollutants such as heavy metals. So bioremediation needs to be done. The study obtained data on heavy metal, copper, and cadmium pollution that affect soil quality and the potential oligoseta as bioremediator copper and cadmium in Jatibarang landfill. And then this data can be used the basis of for developing a strategy for the management of copper and cadmium in Jatibarang landfill. Oligoseta is an important component of soil ecosystem because contributes to the process of humidification, improve aeration, cultivate organic material, and stabilize the degree of soil acidity. And oligoseta can show the quality of soil with the accumulation of chemical, heavy metal, from the soil into the body. It is thought to be an important component for identifying the species positively responsible for bioaccumulation of pollutants being transferred from organism into the food chain. In this slide, we can show BCF, or bioconcentration factor. Bioaccumulation is an increase of heavy metal concentration in the cell body from soil through respiratory exchange, fecal egesting, chemical substances, biotransformation, and increasing a tissue volume. To find out the accumulation of copper and cadmium on Lumbricus terrestris and Paritrima is done by calculating a value of copper and cadmium bioconcentration factor, BCF, in the soil, dermis, esophagus, and intestine. The highest BCF value for copper was found in intestine Lumbricus terrestris at site 1 with a 0.555 value, while cadmium was found in Lumbricus terrestris intestine at site 3 with a value 21.543. Okay. The lowest BCF value for cuprum was found in Lumbricus terrestris esophagus at site 5 with 0.005 value, with cadmium was found in Lumbricus terrestris esophagus and dermis at site 5. The highest BCF value for cuprum or copper was found in Paritrima dermis at site 3 with value 0.291. While cadmium was found in Paritrima intestine at site 3. The lowest BCF value for copper was found in Paritrima in site 5 with value 0. The BCF value more than 1 can be found in the esophagus organ. Lumbricus terrestris found in site 1, site 2, site 3, and site 4. Lumbricus terrestris dermis found in research site 1, site 2, 3, and 4. The BCF value more than 1 can be found in the Paritrima organs, which was found in site 1. And then Paritrima dermis found in all sites, site 1 until site 5. And then, while copper does not accumulate in Paritrima, from the determination of BCF value of Lumbricus terrestris and Paritrima, on exposure to cadmium increases the BCF value more than 1 are cadmium bioaccumulators. Oligoseta, special to species Lumbricus terrestris and Paritrima, play a major role for the accumulation and transformation of organic matter, while they ingest plant residues and soil enriched of organic litter. Lumbricus terrestris are significantly affected by pollutants that reach the soil system and are thus well suited for the monitoring of soil contamination. Oligoseta accumulate heavy metal through two pathways, absorption following dermal content or through the gut tissue, and thus possess a seriously risk of secondary poisoning due to biomagnification. Hyperaccumulator can accumulate high concentration of heavy metal, in this case copper and cadmium, at the tissue surface when found in their natural habitat. The comparison between the concentration of cuprum and cadmium in the dermis esophagus and intestine of Lumbricus terrestris and Paretrima get the TF value, translocation factor. TF value were calculated to determine the movement of accumulation of copper and cadmium from the esophagus to intestine and from dermis to the intestine of Lumbricus terrestris and Paretrima. The TF value is a value that indicator the ability of compound to be transferred from the esophagus and the dermis to the intestinal organ Lumbricus terrestris and Paretrima. The highest TF value for copper from the dermis to intestinal organ was found in Lumbricus terrestris at site 5, while cadmium was found on Lumbricus terrestris at site 1. The lowest translocation factor or TF factor for cuprum, for copper, was found at Lumbricus terrestris at site 4 and extra. And then for this slide, the TF value of heavy metals in organisms should be more than 1 in order to be considered as bioaccumulators. The TF value copper more than 1 of the dermis transfer to the intestine of the Lumbricus terrestris found at site 1 and site 4, and Paretrima found at site 2, site 4, and site 5, whereas the TF value of cadmium more than 1 of dermis to the intestine Paretrima found at site 5. The TF value of copper more than 1 of the esophagus transfer to intestine Lumbricus terrestris found at site 1, site 2, and site 5, and Paretrima found in at site 1, 2, 3, and 4. Whereas the TF value of cadmium more than 1 from the esophagus to intestine of Lumbricus terrestris found at site 1 and Paretrima found at site 2, 3, and 4. The value of Lumbricus terrestris and Paretrima more than 1 means that Lumbricus terrestris and Paretrima as hyperaccumulators organism, because the hyperaccumulator can accumulate high concentration of copper and cadmium in natural habitats, the Jatibarang landfill soil. For the conclusion, my research on zooremediation, there are 6 conclusions, 6 data. From this data, both Lumbricus terrestris and Paretrima in Jatibarang landfill accumulate copper and cadmium in their organs based on BCF, bioconcentration factors, and translocation factor values. Oligochaeta in Jatibarang landfill, especially Lumbricus terrestris and Paretrima, have potential as a bioaccumulator of copper and cadmium, so that can be used for bioremediation purposes. So remediation is a new trend, new solution, new approaches, new biotechnological approaches. So remediation use animal to clean up pollutants in ecosystem. Emerging trends in zooremediation include using filter feeders to remove pollutants and exploring the potential of other organisms to remediate specific contaminant. And then biotechnological approaches in zooremediation focus on optimizing the efficiency of these natural cleaning processes and potentially developing genetically engineer animals for a specific remediation tasks. Okay. Thank you. That's all.
All right, thank you so much, Mrs. Maria Ulfa, for your insightful presentation. And then now we are moving on to the question and answer session. If you have any questions for our speakers, please feel free to raise your hand or type them in the chat box. Let's take this chance to dive deeper into the topics and get your curiosity answered. All right, it looks like we are already have one of our audience that already intrigued or curious about the topic of our speakers that already presented. Hello, not Mrs. Sorry, Mr. Vitsanu.
Hello.
All right, Mr. Vitsanu, can you please state your questions?
So yes, let me introduce myself. Hello, Ma'am Mulfa and Ma'am Brea. I'm Wisnu. I'm from biology education student, third year. So I want to ask about to Ma'am Ulfa. At the beginning of the presentation, Ma'am Ulfa mentioned that zoo remediation, biodiversity conservation, and sustainability are interconnected concepts. Can you explain the link between pollution, cleanup pollutant, restoration ecological, zoo remediation, biodiversity conservation, and sustainability? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vitsanu. Is anyone else? Oh, okay, Miss Zakia. Can you please state your questions?
Yeah, okay. Good afternoon from Ulfa. My name is Zakia and I biology education student teacher. So my question is, can I implement the zoo remediation in learning process? Because I really interested about this topic. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Miss Zakia. And next, I think we have one more, Miss Chunita.
Okay, my name is Junta Puchiduske KMT, and I have question, Mom. What are the animal indicators that can you just your remedies against?
Sorry, Miss Chunita, who is the question to? Ma'am Ulfa or Ma'am Rea?
Ma'am Ulfa.
All right, thank you, Miss Chunita. I think that's all 3 questions for now. Please, Ma'am Ulfa, the
Okay.
floor is yours.
3 question, Anjo. Okay, one by one. Yeah. Hello, Vishnu.
Hello, ma'am.
There are 6 concept, yeah. Pollution, and then clean up pollutant, okay? And then restoration, ecological, and then remediation. And two more, what is Vishnu? Biodiversity, yeah? Biodiversity
Yes.
conservation and sustainability, okay?
Yes.
What the link between. Maybe I want to elaborate between 6 concepts. So remediation and then biodiversity conservation, sustainability are interconnected. At the beginning of the presentation, I mentioned that interconnected concept where zooremediation using animals to clean up pollutant can be seen a tool that can positively influence both biodiversity and sustainability. By addressing pollution, a key threat to biodiversity, so remediation can support. The maintenance, the restoration of healthy ecosystem, which it does contribute to sustainable development. Okay, so remediation, clean up the pollutant, and then the key threat to biodiversity. Maybe I want to elaborate between zooremediation and biodiversity concept. Pollution, whether it's from industrial waste or from agricultural runoff or other sources, is a major driver of biodiversity loss. So remediation technique, such as a specific animals like nematoda, oligoseta, to remove or break down pollutants, can help reduce or eliminate their threats. By improving water and soil quality, zooremediation can create condition for the reintroduction of native species and the restoration of ecological community. This can increase the richness and resilience of biodiversity within the affected areas. Now, I want to elaborate two concepts between biodiversity conservation and sustainability. Okay. Biodiversity conservation is a crucial for long-term health of ecosystem and well-being human societies. Healthy ecosystem provide essential services like pollination, carbon sequestration, and water purification. And then the sustainability emphasize that the need to meet current without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own. And biodiversity conservation is a key component of sustainable development. Okay. And then the last, I want to elaborate the link between zooremediation and then biodiversity and sustainability. So remediation offers a way to address pollution, to remove metal remove or organic compound remove, which a significant threat to biodiversity and ecosystem health. By using natural processes, your remediation can support restoration, maintains a healthy life, healthy ecosystem, which in turn contribute to biodiversity conservation. To support the broader goals of sustainability by ensuring the availability of resources, and then the long-term well-being web of life, like Mamrea said. For example, I will give you an example, include using animals or zooremediation, and using plants in phytoremediation, using algae phycoremediation, okay, to remove pollutants from soil or water, or using microorganism to degrade organic or inorganic waste, all of which can help in restoring and conserving biodiversity and promoting sustainability. Okay, that's all, Vishnu.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Ulfa, for the answer.
Angel?
All right, yeah. Thank you very much for the first question, Wisnu and Ma'am Ulfa, for the thoughtful answer. Moving on to the second question from Miss Zakia.
Okay. About a teacher, implement
Yes, ma'am.
remediation in learning. Okay. Zakia, yes, you can absolutely implement remediation in learning setting, particularly in science classes. Remediation, the use of animals to remediate pollutant environment can be fascinating and engaging way to teach about ecology, pollution, and potential solution. It offers hands-on learning opportunities. Maybe environmental pollution materials in elementary school, junior high school, and senior high school can also be implemented about this topic, the remediation, and how you can incorporate so remediation into your teaching, maybe in introduction of concept, explain what bioremediation, the classifying, and how it's used organism like plant, animals, algae, or microba to clean up the pollution. And then you can introduce zooremediation is a specific type of zooremediation that focus on using animals, and then discuss different types of pollutants that zooremediation can target, such as soil spill or heavy metal or microplastic or organic or inorganic waste. And then maybe use real world example of successful zooremediation project to illustrate its effectiveness. You can incorporate zooremediation into your teaching, maybe hands-on activity and project with stimulation, and then research project, and then discussion or debate and field trip, maybe. Create simplified models and contaminated water of soil or soil, have student experiment with different animal species to observe their impact on pollutant removal, heavy metal or organic, inorganic, nitrogen. And then you can have a research project. Student can research specific animal species known for their role in zooremediation, focusing on their biology, feeding habitats, and then maybe how the process pollutants, removal pollutants. Maybe hands-on activity, discussion or debate. Encourage students to discuss the pro and the contra zooremediation, compare it other remediation technique, and maybe considering ethical implication. And maybe field trip, Zakia, and you field trip, arrange to visit the zoo, or with your student arrange to visit aquatic laboratory, maybe, or research facility that demonstrate zooremediation in action, or has animals involved in related research. And then the last, maybe you can incorporate zooremediation into your teaching by assessment or by learning objective, understanding the concept. Students should be able to define the zoo remediation and explain how it works. Assessment to identify pollutant types. Your students should be able to recognize common pollutants that can be addressed through zoo remediation. Maybe learning object and assessment analyzing animal roles. Your students should be able to describe how to specific animal species contribute to zoo remediation, or by creative project, or by evaluating effectiveness. Your student can create presentation, maybe. Your student can create a poster or model showcasing their learning about zoo remediation, and maybe discuss the advantages or discuss about disadvantages of zoo remediation, comparing it with other technique. Okay, that's all, Zakia. It's many activities you can do that.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Ulfa.
Okay, you are welcome.
All right, thank you, Ms. Zakia and Mrs. Maria Ulfa. Moving on to the last question for Ma'am Ulfa from Miss Junita.
Okay, Junita. Hi, Junita.
Yes, Mom.
Okay, how are you today? Okay, you can ask about indicators like that. Animals indicators that can be used mediation against. There are two indicators, hypertolerant and hyperaccumulator. There are two properties that must be possessed and as bioremediation agents, which are related to tolerance. Hypertolerant biota, soil biota, can survive and multiply in environment with high level of pollutants, while hyperaccumulator have the ability to absorb the accumulate pollutant even higher than other animals. So the two properties hypertolerant. The nature of biota is able to grow and multiply, exist in environment with a high level of pollutant. Hypertolerant animals have a physiological mechanism to protect themselves from pollutant toxicity, such as limiting the absorption of pollutants or moving more pollutants to non-essential parts of the body. And the last about hyperaccumulator, biota can absorb and accumulate, hyperaccumulator, so can accumulate a very large amount pollutant, even higher than other biota. And then hyperaccumulator biota has special physiological mechanism to facilitate the absorption and accumulation of pollutants, like that, such as having a maybe effective transport system in the body and the part of the body. Okay, that's all, Junita. Two properties, hypertolerant and hyperaccumulator. The animal indicator that can be used zoo remediation against. Okay, thank you, Angel.
Thank you, Mom Ulfa.
All right, thank you, Miss Junita and Ma'am Ulfa. Moving on next, we have a question from Mrs. Lusana for Mrs. Rea. Mrs. Rea, this is a question. What do you think about economy is against conservation in biodiversity? And also, actually, I have one question to Ma'am Rea. Okay, so I think my question will be the last question because we see the time, it's almost already so late. So my
Okay.
question, in the presentation back then, a while ago, you show us some of the animal species in Philippines that almost extinct, or we can say that they are endangered. So I wonder, in Philippines, how is the conservation of biodiversity for the species to anticipate the extinctness? So I want to know, is it different in Indonesia? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let me first answer the first question that was raised by Miss Lusana. And this is about my thoughts about the economy and biodiversity conservation. Okay. So I think the relationship between biodiversity and economy is not strictly against, but there could be a chance wherein there are odds depending on the priorities, policies, and practices. So let me give an example. Example would be giving priority to short-term profit over long-term sustainability. So if we prioritize short-term profits such as logging, mining, industrial agriculture, and overfishing, this could now exploit the resources that we have, and this could now lead to habitat destruction, pollution, and eventually to species extinction. Okay. Next would be another instance wherein the economy can be against biodiversity conservation is through the policy and incentive gaps. So without proper regulation of mining, for example, fishing, and logging, this could now cause the business to have motivation to have more gains or to gain more. Okay. And this could now uh, lead to environmental impacts. Too much of everything is bad, right? So there should always be a balance. So therefore, government should prioritize GDP or the global domestic product growth over conservation efforts. Yes. Okay. I know, I'm sorry. When government would emphasize on the gross income or product, this could now lead to conservation loss or problem with the environment. Okay, so I hope I have answered your question, Miss Lizana. Okay, so I will now move on to the question of Miss Angelica. So I'd like first to ask you, I will return the question to you because I'd like to know how do you, what are your ways in Indonesia in conserving or protecting now your endangered species?
So in Indonesia, we actually have some sanctuary for the endangered species. We have some of them for this sanctuary, not for all species, but more specific types of species that have its sanctuary. So, and also we have some policies that regulates about how to how to save or so actually like we prohibited about some kind of illegal poaching, something like that. So we have policies and sanctuary for the ways to preserve our extinct endangered species, like that.
Okay. So I'd like also thank you for sharing, Miss Angelica. You have mentioned about sanctuary, and that is also practiced here in the Philippines. So tarsiers are actually housed in a forest here in the Philippines, particularly in Bohol. So when tourists would go through that forest, they are reminded of the proper behavior when they go into that area, because the tarsiers are very sensitive to noise. So therefore, responsible ecotourism is reminded to tourists. Another would be, we have protected areas also, wherein not all could go to that certain area, not unless they would have a permit or they are conducting a study, so that the certain ecosystem would not be disturbed or be exploited. Okay. Another would be um another would be monitoring the biodiversity hotspots. So we have hotspots here, and government officials are monitoring them from time to time, and they are informing the nation about the status of these organisms. So through news or social media posts, we get to know more about these organisms and their status. That's it. Also, poaching and illegal um, illegal acquisition of these example trunks of animals, or uh, the fins of dolphins are regulated also, because there were a lot of instances wherein some of foreigners are getting it from the Philippines and then bringing it to their countries for financial gains, which is, I think, not good for our environment. That would be all, Miss Angelica. Thank you for your question.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Rea. Yeah, I think it's almost the same in Indonesia because, as you mentioned before, we have some type of sanctuary and also have some policies that regulates it. And okay, that's all I think for our question and answer session. Last but not least, I would like to read our today's presentation summary. The first summary is about Mrs. Rea topic. All right. The first topic for Mrs. Rea topic is about the web of life, exploring biodiversity, conservation, and sustainability. In the first presentation, we are invited to join a mini game, which is a brand or logo guessing, right, Mrs. Rea? And then we also informed that biodiversity consists by two words, which is biological and diversity. We also know the difference between richness and evenness. And then there are three measures of life variation: genetic, species, and ecosystem. And then there are also economic benefits for our biodiversity. The first one is agriculture. In agriculture session, we are introduced to halo halo or mix mix, which is a Philippines dessert. And then for the clothing and shelter, we are introduced to national costume of Philippines, which is called Barong Tagalog. and Barot Saya, if I mentioned that correctly. And then third one, which is inspiration for technology. We are introduced to Mercedes-Benz that have a box face car inspiration. And then medicine and medical models. And then the last one is about ecotourism. And then we are moving on. We have Southeast Asia focus, which is we are informed that our country, Indonesia, and also Philippines are a mega diverse country. We are also informed about the red list by IUCN that have 9 status categories. In there, we are introduced to Philippines animal species with their status. And then there are also threats to biodiversity, which is deforestation and habitat loss, illegal wildlife trade, climate change impacts, and also palm oil plantation and illegal loggings. And then the last one, what we can do about it, we can do practice the 5 R's, support eco-friendly products, and participate in conservation initiative. That's all from the first topic summary. And then the second one from Mrs. Maria Ulfa topic, which is zoo remediation, a new trends for and biotechnological approaches. The first one is about bioremediation. Bioremediation is the use of living organisms to remove or detoxify pollutants from a given environment. There are 4 classifications. That is microremediation, phycoremediation, phytoremediation, and then the last one is the zoo remediation. The zoo remediation have 2 types of effect, which is direct effect and indirect effect. Zoo remediation can be achieved by zoo extraction, zoo stabilization, and zoo transformation or zoo degradation. We are also introduced to some of the most suitable animals for zoo remediation in soil and aquatic habitats. And that's all from my summaries for our today's topics. Thank you very much for all of the amazing speakers, especially for today's speakers, Mrs. Rhea and Mrs. Maria Ulfa. And I think that's bring us to the last or end of session. Next, I will give the floor back to our PIC, Mr. Azizul. The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Angel. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much to 2 wonderful and beautiful speakers for today. We have Miss Rhea and Mrs. Maria. So Rhea and Maria, with the interesting topic about ecology and bioremediation. I would like to say thank you very much to all of the attendees and participants from the day 1 until today, the last day of the lecture series, in cooperation with UPGRIS and the MMMSU. So I hope that our collaboration will be a further approach by 2 parties, and maybe in the next time there will be some events that could be like the make us together in the same place. Maybe the some speaker or lecturer or maybe student from the MMSU can visit Indonesia or otherwise. So we really want to hear another next collaboration between 2 universities. And in the behalf of all of the committee for this international joint lecture series, I would like to say thank you very much and apologize if there's something missing things and there's something unpleasant during this event. I hope you enjoy and get a lot of experiences, meet our wonderful speakers, and get really interesting and knowledgeable topic. So I thank you very much for having us today, and for all the participants, please do not forget to fill out the attendance form, and the certificate for this event will be distributed after we already get the list of the attendance from the day 1 until the day 4. And for all of the speakers, we will send the certificate to you from the MMSU, maybe through Dr. Rafael. And if there's any question, please don't hesitate to contact us. I will provide my email in the chat box so you can ask some question or something if you have problem with this program, you can text to me or send me an email. So I would like to say thank you very much. See you next time, and good afternoon. Bye bye.
Goodbye. Thank you, Upgris, for the opportunity. Bye.
You're welcome, Miss Rhea. Thank you.